Hello and welcome to another episode of The Holistic Way. My name is Todd Hart. I'm the host of the show. I'm very excited to welcome Amy to the show today. Amy, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure, thank you, Todd. Thanks for having me. I am known as Angel Amy. I'm a psychic medium and intuitive healer on the North Shore in Massachusetts. I work with angels, guides, and loved ones in spirit. I have been connecting to heaven since I was a little girl, and now I use my abilities to help children, adults, people in general, push through blocks and do healing work. I do healing work with them.
Now, you were kind enough to offer me a complimentary session with you, and I came away from it. First of all, I loved it. It was fantastic.
Thank you.
And I came away from it thinking, and I know you and I talked about this, that you're able to take all of these different tools that are in your toolbox and put them together and sort of work with, I said professionals because that's what I consider myself, a professional, but really work with someone to help them get to the next level in their career. And I know other people that do different things of what you do, but you've been able to really like combine them all and kind of package them in this really amazing service that you offer. And I was really blown away. I was really impressed with how you're able to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So who typically is a client that would come see you, that somebody that you would work with?
So my typical client is anyone that is willing to go inward and upward versus someone that constantly goes outward. Okay, so when one goes inward and upward, they're typically a person that's willing to do some changes in their life and look at themselves and say to themselves, what do I want to change about me? Or what do I want to change about the outer world around me? Because our thoughts and our words have an energy vibration, and they give off energy out into the universe. So what we give off, we get back. So anyone that's open and ready for change.
Now, when you say the opposite of that is someone that goes outward, is that someone who's blaming circumstances and other people for their lives? Oh, if they changed, I'd be okay, that kind of thing? It could be
someone, when one looks outward, they're not necessarily taking ownership for their own actions and usually don't have a type of awareness. So anyone that's willing to go inward and make changes in their own personal life is an ideal client for me.
Okay. Now, do you find that most people, when they sit down with you, they're someone who does look inward, and that's probably why they're coming and sitting down with you? Or do you maybe need to coach them a little bit to...
Some are easier to work with than others, or some people it's easier for them. Some people naturally look inward, but that is where my abilities come into play. So working with angels, they always give me angle in to help get someone to see what they really need to look at.
Right.
Okay.
Now, when you and I spoke after the session, you mentioned to me that you used the mediumship to kind of open up the door a little bit. And my interpretation of that was that if you start saying to me things you shouldn't know,
right,
I'm going to trust you. I might be a little nervous.
Exactly.
But I'm going to think, oh, she knows what she's talking about. So can you talk about that for a little bit?
Sure. Usually, so 99% of my clients are referral based. Someone tells someone about their experience. And typically the first session one wants to do with me is a mediumship session. It's just a hot topic right now. People are very open to it. And once you begin to tell someone things about them that they couldn't know or things about their loved ones, it starts to form a certain bond.
Right.
And then they'll say, Amy, what else can I do with you? And then we look at different areas in their life that they want to work on.
And so then that opens up your angel work.
Exactly.
And can you talk about that and what that means?
Sure.
Okay.
So the angels are my psychic connection. So without the angels, I wouldn't know anything about you. They tell me things about you that I couldn't know in a million years. So that gives proof right there that the angels exist.
Right.
The angels are used to help you. So angels cannot, everyone has at least 2 guardian angels, and some people have more depending on their life path.
Okay.
So angels can't help you unless you ask for help. So I, through conversation, put people in touch with their angels, okay? And through angels, angels may offer some type of growth and development in using the angels and my abilities to set goals of things that are highest and best for you.
So you're bringing awareness to the fact that the angels are there so that people can kind of rely on, I don't know if rely on them is the right word, but
Well, use their angels.
Use them.
So I use them, and I use, as for example, in your session, I used your angels. We did some goal setting and where a certain business of yours is headed.
Right.
So, you know, it's different for everyone because I may intuitively sense a health issue. So I would give tips and tools on how to create a healthy lifestyle.
Okay.
Or if I pick up, you're seeing a male doctor, the angels are suggesting that you get a second opinion, and then I may use my abilities to test, you know, where do you even begin to find this doctor? Sometimes I pull a name, sometimes I don't. I'm as good as the information that's given to me.
Right. Now, if you sense something about someone, say a health issue, because you mentioned a health issue, do you come right out and say it, or do you maybe say, hey, that weight loss plan you've been thinking about, maybe you should do that, or that, you know, plan of starting to walk every day, you might want to, like, how do you handle that?
Well, the first thing I need to mention is that I do not have any access to any, I'm going to say, bad messages.
Okay.
So a bad message or a negative message from me would be something about, I don't have access to death, I don't have access to bad accidents.
Okay.
You know, the angels are very positive. So it would be if they're talking about a health issue, you already know about it. You're well aware. It could be, say, blood pressure and, you know, starting a new walking regimen or so.
Okay. I get the sense as you're talking, like the angels are almost like, I don't know if childlike is the right word, but they kind of like are very positive and fun and
very fun, very light.
Kind of like Peter Pan almost.
Exactly.
That's what came to mind.
And everyone has different types of angels.
Okay.
So, you know, my angels happen to be old biblical angels. I've known this since I was little from seeing them. Some people have angels that are from the elemental kingdom, and that tells me that the person or client would have a natural ability to connect to plants and animals. So there's 9 choirs of angels. So it's very, very broad, okay?
So based on where they're from, the angels, you can kind of tell, can you tell someone's life path because they have them as angels?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah, they'll usually spell out the life path.
Oh, I kind of want to ask you about my angels
Yeah,
now.
so that would be an angelic coaching session.
Right, okay.
So
Very
in
cool.
an angelic coaching session, you are peacefully laying on the massage table, fully clothed, and I'm centering you into your own energy, and I talk you through a beautiful connection with your higher self. And your angels this is where I use the mediumship to work with the angels, give me questions to ask you. And they're asking you as if you are your 10-year-old higher self. Okay, so typically if you ask a child a question, or children give you multiple responses, where adults tend to be limited. So if you ask yourself things as if you're your 10-year-old higher self, it's a way to think outside of the box and be more creative.
Is that before you learned all of the negative in life and patterns and all of that? You were, you know, as a child, you're more open to things. And I think as an
Right.
adult, you kind of shut things out and almost become a bit negative and boxed in.
Yeah, well, we as adults, we start to form, we believe false beliefs that are created in childhood.
Right,
We
right.
believe stories. All adults, all humans walk through life and tell themselves stories. Usually it's false things that we believe about ourselves, and we create the world around us off of our thoughts.
Okay.
So angels help you break through false beliefs.
Now, if someone, I'm 46, so if I had a thought in my head, I don't know, I'll just, whatever the thought is, it doesn't matter, and I've had that since childhood, how hard would that be to break that thought, because it's a pattern that's been there for all these years? How hard is that to do?
Well, the angels would give you some behavioral suggestion depending on what it is. And you would go, it takes 21 days to break a habit. So the goal would be to go 21 days and do the best you can with the new tools that I would provide you with.
Okay. Now, can we talk about tapping at all?
We can talk about tapping,
Because
sure.
I love tapping.
Okay, great.
The interesting thing is I was out in Salt Lake City back in September, and I was having wine with a couple of friends of mine, and someone brought up tapping, and I was like, huh? And she just tried to describe it, and I was like,
Sounds a little crazy.
sounded a little
first.
crazy. But then you and I did it, and I've been doing it since then.
Awesome. That makes me
so,
happy.
so let's talk about that. Tell me about tapping and.
Tapping is based on acupuncture, which developed over 5,000 years ago. It's Chinese medicine where you are literally, instead of using needles, so there was a team of people thousands and thousands of years ago that said, you know what? We really don't like the needles. What would happen if we just tapped right on?
Oh, I thought this was new. I
No,
didn't realize
this
it was
is
that old. Oh, I thought this
old.
was like, 30,
It was
40 years. Oh,
brought
wow.
back to the United States around 1980, I believe.
Okay.
And it has progressed since then. And so there's meridians on the body, as you know, that when you tap on, you can literally feel yourself calming down or setting into your own body or releasing emotions. So that's the whole point, is that you release emotions from the body.
Well, when I do it, when I'm doing a positive one, I actually can feel my vibration rising.
Good.
And when I'm done, I just sit there and I can feel it. If anyone knows about the power of intention and raising your vibration to match what you want, that's, and I can just feel it. I'm like, oh, that's what it feels like to have that. And it's really, really cool.
So you can use tapping to manifest, which you're using it for. You can use it to heal physical pain in the body.
Oh, really? The same sequence that you taught me, the 10?
The same sequence.
Okay.
You can use the 10 for that.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So let's go backwards and talk about, because you said in childhood is when you realized you had these abilities. How did it first start? How old were you? If you don't mind talking about it.
No,
if you don't want to, you don't
sure.
have to. But can you share that? Because I think that's fascinating.
Sure. So I remember being 5 years old, and I connect to many different divine beings in heaven, but primarily I'm connecting to the Christ consciousness.
Okay.
So I was born into a Roman Catholic family, and I remember in 1980 when I was 5 telling my mom that I am seeing angels, I am hearing them, seeing them, because I thought everybody could do this.
Right.
And this is 1980, so she was very loving, but she was like, Amy, I don't know, so it got pretty much tossed thrown under the rug. Fast forward now, my parents are extremely supportive.
I met your mom. And
Yes.
She's very, yes, she is.
She's very, very, very supportive, but it's been quite the journey, as one can imagine. So being young, my siblings, they have different gifts and talents that I do not have. But it's almost coming out of the closet. When I came out of the closet with this, they were super, super supportive, and no one was shocked at all.
Now, do they have any kind of spiritual gifts, or do they have different gifts, like musical?
Different gifts.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
Different gifts.
So how did you, if your mom sort of was like, okay, and accepted it, but how did you develop it? And because that's very young to have these abilities and
Well,
know what to do with them. Did you meet anyone along the way that kind of told you what it is or helped you?
You know, I didn't until adulthood, but I always attracted friendships with other females that were Christian or religious. So I always had that as a base. And then what happened in my 20s, I call it my past life. When I worked in Boston as a professional, it really started to ramp up. So meaning my abilities and my connection with the angels and spirit ramped up after 9/11. The world had changed, and I had worked for a company that, was in One World Trade. I was housed in Boston, but I went through this big life-changing experience there. Wow. And the world started to change. The whole world started to vibrate at a different level. So when there comes, I'm going to say, the dark, also comes the light.
Right.
So those of us that walk in the light were pretty much feeling more of a connection with spirit, and it unfolded.
Interesting.
Yes.
Wow.
We could do a whole other show on that.
I think we could, yeah. So what other services do you offer when you sit down with someone? We have, the mediumship, the angels, you do tapping, you also do Reiki
and
as
I do
well.
Reiki.
Okay.
So the Reiki, I'm trained in Usui Reiki, but my Reiki is very angelically charged. No big surprise. I also offer messages with it as well.
Okay.
So messages could be messages from your angels, things that you might need to work on. It could be something psychic that I'm seeing. It could be your grandmother could come into the session and wants to do just a little bit of healing about her passing, or just give proof that she's still with you. The messages are a lot slower during Reiki because it's very important that you lay peacefully, and allow your energy to move and be shifted around.
Right.
Okay, but one of my offerings is messages with my Reiki.
Well, I also think and I could be wrong, but my interpretation of Reiki is that the energy is passing through you, so you're sort of tied up maybe doing that?
Yes,
maybe?
I'm doing two things
You're doing
at
two
once.
things, which could be hard to do.
Yep, so this is one of my gifts, is I multitask what's going on. So I'm working with spirit in, one would say the universal life energy to balance the chakras in the body, but I'm also opening myself up to loved ones, spirit and higher, to let them come in, and I'm clairvoyant, so I see, hear, and feel. So I may say, I have one of your guardian angels here, she's female, and this is how you're gonna use her, and this is what she's telling me about you, something like that.
Now, I have other friends that are mediums and psychics, now, and I hear stories, and it always makes me chuckle, because they'll be out at a restaurant, and the waitress will come to the table, and they'll say, oh, your dead uncle is standing next to you, or something.
Right.
Do you have that happen to you?
I do, where it's not part of my life path to break boundaries.
Okay.
So I ask people, would you like a message?
Right.
And if they're saying, well, what's a message, if they don't know me, I explain what I do.
Sure.
If I'm sensing something about a friend, usually I give really good advice. So friends will say, Amy, can I talk this out with you? And I'll say, absolutely.
Right.
But it's not part of my life path to walk through the grocery store and say.
That makes sense.
I keep it more
Knowing
to
you,
myself.
it makes sense. Yeah, that does make sense. Okay.
I do have the ability, I can shut the loved ones off. I actually recenter myself and look away and connect to your loved ones.
Right.
What's more difficult, and a lot of people watching this will resonate with them, is shutting off the empath, the ability to feel others' feelings.
Okay.
So the first way that I connect to you is through empath abilities. The next stage to empath is seeing in your third eye, is the ability to see a loved one or an object in order to give a message to the person.
Okay.
Right.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So who would be listening, watching the show, and maybe what are they dealing with that they would say, you know what, Amy can help me, or you could help them with?
Anyone that wants to make a change in their life. So I work with everyone from children that have ADD, ADHD, I have some clients that battle addiction. I also have, like we had talked about, professionals that say, I have this great business and I'm very successful, but I feel completely unfulfilled.
Oh, wow.
So I would like to take my skills and apply it somewhere else. And it's just a process, through a few sessions in which we have it unfold.
Right. Or even like a roadblock. If someone's dealing with a roadblock in their career or their life, you could help them with that.
Yep, can help them with
So
the roadblock.
typically, how long is the session, and then how many times do people work with you to deal with something?
So a session, all my sessions are an hour each, depending whether I'm doing mediumship, Reiki, angelic coaching session, or tapping. Some people see me on a regular basis so Reiki, some come every 2 weeks, some come every once a month, some just call me as they can kind of feel themselves, their energy setting in a different direction. It's almost like a car that needs maintenance.
Right, right.
And then if I work with a professional, I'll make a suggestion where, say, let's schedule out 3 or 4 sessions. Sometimes it might be 2, and work on X, Y, and Z. So it's really just depends on, it's on an individual basis.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
I'm going to add one thing.
Yeah, oh, please do, yeah.
Mediumship is important that people know this. If someone is coming on a regular basis to do mediumship, it's a red flag. Mediumship should be done, I'd say 4 times or twice a year, because at what point do they need a psychologist or a therapist, okay?
Oh, interesting.
Or they may be looking for something in which I could then hand them over into, take them into a different modality, okay, or a different service that I offer. But someone that's just looking to constantly hear from their loved one tells me that they need to do healing work on sadness or loss, which we do in a mediumship session, but then we may need to just take it a little deeper.
See, and when you're saying that, I'm thinking that they're looking outside themselves for the answer.
Right.
Tell me what to do, whoever they're trying to connect with, where...
Mediumship is a lot of looking outward, but there is an art form when you deliver a message to get them to then begin to go inward and upward, okay?
Yeah.
So it's not constantly just saying, Amy's just going to tell me what to do next and I'm going to follow it.
Right, right.
It's more than that.
So have you had any sort of, is there training that you do that helps you to kind of hone your skills? And like you said, there's an art to the mediumship to help them to go inward, upward. Is that something you just intuitively pick up and learn, or is that something that you learn from someone else?
Well, a few things. So I'm certified in Reiki, and the number one way to work on intuitive skills is to go inward. So I have quite the story and quite the journey in my own life, and things that I've worked on, personal things that I've worked on. So I tell everyone, if you want to change your life or change your behavior or even begin to heighten your intuition, go inward, okay?
I'm reminded of a story, and I'll see if I can get it right, but there was a person who lost their keys. Their power went out in their house. They couldn't find the keys. And so they went outside and they were looking around where the streetlight was for their keys. And someone said, well, why are you looking out there for the keys when they're in the house? He's like, well, because I can see out here. The light's out here. They're like, yeah, but the keys are in there in the darkness. So I just remember that. I don't remember what the story had to do with, but I always think of that when people say they look outward. I'm like, but the answers are inside. You meditate, go inward. So yeah, that definitely, that makes a lot of sense.
And humans have a lot of fear, and rightfully so. But there's a way to make humans feel safe in their body, and they have to be ready to do it.
I also feel that I think we're taught too that the answer lies with someone else or something else, and especially with all the advertising, you'll be happy when you have the perfect body, when you drive the perfect car. So all of that's taking you out of yourself.
Absolutely.
And that I think that's so unhealthy.
I agree.
So yeah, I'm glad you're teaching that. I really am. We have just a couple of minutes left. I'm curious about work with children. What have you done with children, and that, like, if anyone has a child that's dealing with something, what can they expect working with you?
So children, I have done several Reiki sessions and tapping sessions, just depending on what needs to be done. So again, making the child feel very safe. Usually I'll start with a Reiki session, and once I see, energetically what's going on with the body, it tells me a lot. Children are great to work with because they don't have, they're very unbiased.
Right.
And a lot of children, as you're energetically working on them, will tell you, oh, I'm seeing colors, and which the chakras each represent a different color.
Yeah. Wow.
Or they get some visuals, and it's really neat and eye-opening.
I would think that working with children is probably quicker because there's not as much baggage that you have to
Children
and
move
walls and
very quickly.
Yeah.
Where adults, I've received emails and testimonials about, Amy, you've done this for me and blah, blah, blah. Someone just ran a half marathon. And I said to her, thank you so much, but I only can take you, I get a little choked up,
Oh, that's sweet.
as far as you're willing to go.
Yeah, that's a nice story.
Yeah.
And this was someone that, have they always wanted to do a marathon or something? Is that?
It was like a dream of hers to do a marathon.
And she did it.
Yes, she did it.
Oh, that's
it's
really
very
cool.
Rewarding.
It should be. Yeah,
Yeah.
good for you. That's
Thank
a nice
you.
gift to share with people.
Thank you so much.
So if you have any questions for me or for Amy, you can send an email to the show. It's on the screen, theholisticway@hotmail.com. And if you want to reach out to Amy, you can send an email to theholisticway@hotmail.com. I'll forward it to her. Any closing thoughts, remarks, comments?
I just encourage everyone to use their angels. They're there. They love you unconditionally, and they ask them for help. They want to help you. They can't help you unless you ask.
Is it like praying when you talk to your angels, for people that don't know?
You actually don't have to pray to them, because the higher power wants you to give all the glory, put all the glory there. Angels, you can simply ask in your head. It's simple. Yet so many people don't use them or know about them.
And they sort of guide you in your life, or put things in front of you that'll answer what you're looking for?
They will, and if they don't send you what you're looking for, they'll send you something better. So as myself and a few angelic friends say, ask, believe, receive.
I like that. Let's
Thank
end
you.
it there. I'm Todd Hart. This has been The Holistic Way. Thank you, Amy, for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Todd. Thank
Stay
you.
healthy, everyone. Thank you.